Listen up, you punk! You better watch your step! Watch! You better watch your step! Yo, you better watch your step! You better watch! You better watch your step! Yo, you better watch your step! You better listen up, punk!
Welcome to Tower Tunes episode, what is it now?
10, I believe, Simon.
That is correct, episode 10. We've been through 10 episodes of Tower Tunes, and today is a very special episode because we have Aaron on today to talk about guitar making or other music-related topics. So first of all, I'm Simon.
I am Vincent.
And Aaron, could you introduce yourself and give us your favorite album?
My name's Aaron Freitas. I'm an adjunct professor here at the university. My favorite album, so I was thinking on the drive in today what my favorite album is, and it's hard for me because I have like a good 10 solid favorite albums, and each one has a different reason why it's my favorite, but it's like kind of asking me like, what's my favorite child, right? I can't really give that type of answer because everyone like has its own uniqueness. But I did think of something. I think my favorite genre, or not genre, time frame of music, I have this theory that from 1970 to 1973 was like the high watermark of rock and roll.
Whoa.
And I'm probably more rock and roll centric than I am other music genres.
All right.
But I have this theory that we hit a precipice there and we've never quite come back to it.
What happened in 1973?
I wonder.
So it was a genre of time. Okay, let me go on my little kind of diatribe here.
All right.
So first and foremost, like I think the 60s way overshadowed the 70s because you had like the 60s movement. Everyone's like, oh, 60s rock and roll was like, that's where rock and roll started. And I'm not downplaying that. But if I were to go back and look at the great albums that I've listened to, and this is what kind of made me start thinking about it when you asked me what's my favorite albums, there's probably a dozen of albums that are my favorite that came out in that 1970 and 1973 range. And a lot of them people attribute to like the 60s movement, the 60s band, and they're just falsely attributed to that. Like if you think of like one of my favorite albums is the Fillmore East shows by the Allman Brothers, right? That was in that time frame. Europe 72 by the Grateful Dead was in that time frame. The Beatles stuff, I think White Album was like 1970, 1971. Rolling Stones, like Exile on Main Street. Like all these classic like 60s quote unquote albums were really in this 70s time frame. And I have a theory as to why.
Okay.
Because I believe creativity kind of peaks in most people around that teenage time frame or that early 20s time frame. I think you're the most, like I definitely say I was the most creative, and I've seen it in a lot of people who I respect. Their creativity was just like churning at that point in time.
Yeah. I mean, I feel it churning right now, so.
So yeah, and you guys are at that peak, right? Because you're curious and like all those things are just like there's no bias that's filtering you. It's just all creativity.
Yeah.
Creativity, it matters.
It does matter.
Yes.
And I do agree with you with like rock and roll, at least like the genre.
Yeah.
Peaking back like in the olden days, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
My personal favorite decade is the 90s.
Sure.
But I do feel like the genre is kind of coming back as of recently. There's been a lot of bands resurfacing that people are like, oh, you can see like all these influences, and it's kind of weird because they kind of say that as an insult, but then they're like, oh, they kind of sound like all these extremely good bands.
Yeah.
Right. Like the album I played for you the other day.
Sure.
Which was the Geese album, by the way, the one that just dropped. But yeah, I feel like it's making a comeback slowly.
Well, and I don't want to suggest that I'm saying that rock and roll doesn't have high watermarks at other points in time, or even music doesn't have high watermarks. I think something came together in that early 70s that was a unique combination of environment. It was a unique combination of technology, and it was a unique combination of like access to information.
Yeah.
And then you had, and this goes back to my comment about like age and your creativity, was you had a lot of like teenagers that were going through the 60s movement as teenagers, and they started buying albums, right? But it was still a pretty select amount of bands that were really putting out music in the whole Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Jefferson Airplane era. But all of those individuals went from like being teenagers listening to records in their bedrooms to getting guitars, and and amplifiers became more accessible and cheaper. And that all kind of hit and peaked at early 1970s.
Yeah.
So I think you just had a lot more influence and accessibility to the music technology, and then the creativity that was feeding all of it was so much more abundant. Like if you look at all the genres, you'd have everything from country music was like taking off. You had reggae taking off. You had soul
Certainly
and R&B taking off. Like
a lot
all
of different
those
genres just
blew up. Where in the 60s that really wasn't still going on.
Yeah. Well, maybe the 70s, the early 70s was kind of the birthplace of a lot of more modern music.
I totally agree.
So let's keep it moving. We've only got so much time. Let's get out of the intro and into the actual episode. We're going to do a Song of the Week segment, music news, a guitar making segment, which will be super interesting, and then we're going to wrap it up. So, Vincent, would you like to get us started with Song of the Week?
Yes, my song of the week was a little tune called Ignore the Vor by Machine Girl. And really not much to say, it's insane. Electronic. I guess they're doing more, they're adding a little, guitar, some drums here and there.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like its own new genre. It's like electronic punk, synth punk. Something like that.
Very angry.
Yes,
isn't it?
very angry.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just insane. Nothing
Kind of
more to
on
say.
the opposite end of the spectrum, my song of the week was Remember, Remember by Madison Cunningham. This is one of her older songs, folk artist, folk rock, I guess. Yeah, not much to say. How about yours?
Wanted to pay a little homage to Ozzy Osbourne since we lost him recently. So in a strange way, I would say War Pigs, but by Cake, which is a band out of Sacramento in the 90s. Yeah. They covered that song, and I was just listening to it the other day. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so some new stuff coming out. This is our music news segment. We got Florence plus the Machine dropping an album last Friday.
Yes.
I was really excited about this album, but I forgot to listen to it the full way through. But it was good for the first half.
I mean, there's some mixed opinions about it.
Really?
What else? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Also.
What else do we have? Okay, we also have a new Danny Brown album coming out. By the time this episode is out, it should have released.
And the singles for that album are really good.
Okay. Yes. And we also have new Underscores single that just released. Also very good. This is kind of out of Aaron's comfort zone because this is all like electronic stuff, which me myself I'm not even that big into, but it's just been taking off recently. So
yeah, we also got OK Lou. She just released a deluxe version of her album from earlier this year. The songs are excellent.
More queer pop.
Yes, and Taylor Swift is apparently releasing a acoustic version of her new album soon.
I mean, she loves releasing versions.
She does.
I mean, her last album had 30, 30 different releases, 30 different pressings.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a whole other thing.
All right. So, any opinions on these versions?
The only one I've heard was the first one.
Okay.
And Vincent shared that with me last week, I think it was.
Wait.
Did I?
I thought it was good. Wasn't that the song that you suggested I listen to?
Oh, it was an album, but that was that was a while ago though.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but it's a very good album.
Yep.
And I think you should give it a closer listen.
Will do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's jump right into the meat and potatoes of the episode. We got guitar making. So you've been making guitars for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
How did you decide to start getting into the craft?
Goes back to, I think, when I was in my kind of peak creative years. I was playing music. When I was coming out of college, most of my kind of focus was the music industry. And I thought at that point in time that was going to be my career path. So I was playing in bands. I was putting on concerts at UC Davis. And I started to realize I wasn't able to afford the guitars that I wanted to play.
Yeah.
So first thing I think I was doing was kind of just hacking together random guitars from parts.
Ooh.
And seeing how that worked. And then I met a guy who was actually doing some maintenance on my guitars that I had, who was teaching guitar building class, electric guitar building class at a local community college. And signed up for it, fell in love, did that for like a semester, built my first guitar, had no clue what I was doing. I just had to take lessons from him basically on every step. And then after that, he followed it up with an amp making class. So I took the amp making class and didn't nearly like that as much. I wasn't as into the electronic side of things.
Yeah.
But out of taking those two classes, the community college basically gave me an open access to the woodshop. And so they said, you know, as long as you're enrolled in one of his classes, you can come in here and work anytime you want.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and so then I continued to take classes from him, like learning things, but I started experimenting building acoustics on my own.
Nice.
One thing led to another, and my first couple were just horrible. They were not good.
Yes.
Because the only way I could get information back then was just buying books, and
Yeah.
I was on a lot, and he did not teach how to make acoustics. So I was pretty self-studied, and just building one after another, and then I would mix in at that point in time. I would have friends who would ask for me to build them something, and so I started mixing in personally, I was trying to build myself an acoustic that was nice, and then I was just building more and more electrics just for friends, giving them away, and that lasted probably like 10 years until I was able to get my own wood shop, and then I threw my energy into learning acoustics, which is my primary passion, but I still honestly do a lot of electrics as well.
Yeah.
But it's all started out for not having the money to buy the guitars I wanted to buy.
Yeah, and I think that's cool for Simon, because he's told me recently that he's on like this, I don't know, acoustic guitar like streak or obsession right now. Is that right?
Well, recently I've just been really enjoying just laying down and listening to acoustic guitar music
Sure.
with the window open.
Sure.
Very specific
Yes.
situation, but I just feel so at peace. So I need to find more acoustic guitar music.
Yes.
I
mean, the guitar to me is like probably like the coolest instrument in rock music.
Up there, yeah.
Yeah, and I especially appreciate like just guitar solos in songs.
Yeah.
There's this live album by Ween, which I think I recommended to you the other
You
day.
did, yeah.
But yeah, there are like so many like incredible guitar solos in that album alone. Like every time one comes on, I'm like, okay, this is like the best one of all time. But
He
but
kept saying that. We were listening, and every single song, this is the best guitar solo of all time.
yes. But
And it just kept getting better, I guess.
but that's just me.
Yeah.
So, speaking of guitar solos,
Ooh.
is there like one particular guitar solo that you would say is something that everyone should hear at least once?
Oh, yeah. Again, that goes back to like the question you asked me earlier about my favorite album. I don't know that I can specify one solo. I think I went down a pursuit of, this is a part of the conversation about building guitars. I went down the pursuit of specific tonalities, and then understanding the balance between music theory and actual music physics, right? Because all of these things are actually interconnected, because you're dealing basically with the mechanics of sound wavelengths, right? And notes are just wavelengths in a certain pitch, right? And as you take that and you put it into an instrument, the instrument is just projecting that wavelength out in a different mechanism. So it's a quick parallel to go from like, hey, I'm learning how to play guitar, I'm learning how to do solos, I'm learning how to make those solos tonalities sound in certain ways with amplifiers, to how does all of this actually work when I start building an instrument? How does that instrument enhance that?
Yeah.
So I think I referenced Allman Brothers. They've been a huge influence on me from a music standpoint. I think the entire live sessions of the Fillmore East were some of the best live soloing ever. It was Duane Allman. Most people think he was slide guitar probably the best of that generation, definitely. And then I look at it as a lot of the elements that came out of that, both musically from the instruments he was using, from the amps he was using, from the sound that was being generated out of that era of music was all combining to be kind of a high watermark of music. So I might say that would be one area I would say go dive into if you haven't listened to guitar solos from them.
Allman Brothers, I will definitely check them out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been looking for like just more rock music in general to just listen to. But I think as a whole, like the whole guitar making thing is just like very interesting, because I feel like, you know, we all have like these instruments that we see people use, but I guess I never really thought about like how they're made. So that to me is really cool.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on to kind of get into that. How are the instruments actually made? That
and like what goes into
here
it.
every day.
Sure.
And yeah, so coming up on Tower Tunes, we're going to have a vinyl collecting episode. We're actually recording it right after this because next week is not available. So, yep, stay tuned for that. And as always, stay tuned.